Hello everyone! Today, I'll be discussing two influential ideas in education and language learning about Jean Piaget's theory of cognitive development and the concept of oriented approach. These concepts have helped educators understand how children think and learn and how we can create learning environments that truly support their growth. First of all, let us know who was Jean Piaget. Do you have guys an idea who is Jean Piaget? So, Jean Piaget was a Swiss psychologist and philosopher who became interested in understanding how children's thinking develops. He didn't just see children as mini adults. Instead, he saw them as actively constructing knowledge based on their interactions with the world around them. He argued that children go through distinct stages of development, each with its own characteristic, challenges, and ways of understanding reality. His theory of cognitive development remains a cornerstone in psychology and education, showing how children's reasoning skills evolve as they grow. There are four main stages of cognitive development, each building on the previous one, creating a foundation for how children perceive and understand the world. Number one, we have sensory motor stage. It starts from 0 to 2-year-old. This is the stage where infants explore the world through their senses, like touching, tasting, looking, and moving. Babies learn about object permanence, the idea that the things continue to exist even when they're out of sight. So this discovery is a big cognitive leap because it shows that infants are beginning to understand that the world is consistent and predictable. They also start goal-directed actions where they make intentional movements to achieve specific results, like pushing a button to make a toy light up, and so on. Number two, we have pre-operational stages, age 2 to 7 years old. During this stage, children begin using language and symbols, such as words and images, to represent objects and ideas. However, their thinking is still limited by egocentrism, where they see the world from their own perspective and find it difficult to understand others' point of view. They also struggle with the concept of conservation. For example, if you pour the same amount of water into glasses of different shapes, a child might think the taller glass has more water because they focus on height rather than the overall volume. Number three, we have concrete operational stages, start from 7 to 11-year-old. In this stage, children develop logical thinking skills. They start understanding conservation and classification, the ability to group objects by common properties such as size or shape. Their thinking is more flexible and organized, and they can perform mental operation on concrete objects. This stage allows them to start using inductive reasoning, drawing general conclusions based on specific observations. For instance, they might understand that if you add water to a plant, it grows, and apply the logic to other plants. The last stage is formal operational stages from 12 years old and up. So this is the stage of abstract thought. Adolescents can now think logically about hypothetical situations and can understand complex concepts such as love, freedom, and justice. They also develop deductive reasoning. This is the ability to use general principles to predict specific outcomes. For instance, they can understand that if all humans are mortal and Socrates is human, then Socrates is moral. This ability to think about abstract idea is important for subjects that require advanced thinking such as algebra or moral reasoning. Piaget believed that children don't passively absorb information, instead, they actively construct knowledge by exploring, questioning, and revising their understanding. He introduced two processes that drives this development: assimilation and accommodation. So, what is assimilation? Assimilation is when we incorporate new information into existing framework. For example, a child who has only seen small dogs might categorize all dogs as small until they see a larger one. Otherwise, accommodation happens when we adjust our framework based on new information, like when that child realized that dogs come in different sizes and adapt their learning. These stages have taught educators to create experience suited to each developmental level, to foster learning environments where students can build and refine their understanding actively. Now, let's talk about the concept-oriented approach. In language learning, unlike traditional methods that may focus on memorizing vocabulary or grammar, this approach emphasizes understanding big ideas and connecting learning to real-world concepts. I have here 5 examples on how it works in practice. Number 1, focus on concept, not just words. In a concept-oriented approach, the teacher introduces broad themes or ideas that encourage students to think critically. For instance, a lesson might focus on the concept of community rather than just vocabulary words related to places and town. By connecting language learning to real-life themes, students develop both language skills and a deeper understanding of the world around them. Number 2, we have encourage curiosity and exploration. This approach is driven by inquiry-based learning, where students are encouraged to ask questions and explore topics. Teachers can build a language lesson around questions like, why is recycling important? Or, what would happen if everyone planted trees? So, this fosters a classroom environment where students' curiosity leads the learning, and language become a tool for discovery and expression. Number 3, we have build connections across subjects. One strength of the concept-oriented approach is its cross-disciplinary nature, allowing students to connect language with other subjects. For instance, a unit on the ocean could include reading about marine animals, discussing climate change, or learning specific terms. So by integrating subjects, students see language as a bridge to new knowledge, and they retain information more effectively because it's connected to different contexts. Number 4, we have emphasize real-life applications. The concept-oriented approach also stresses real-life connections. For example, rather than just learning restaurant vocabulary, students might role-play ordering food or interviewing each other's favorite meals. So this approach builds practical skills by grounding language use in real-world scenarios, making the learning experience more relevant and engaging. Lastly, we have number 5, promotes deeper cognitive engagement. Unlike memorization, focus approaches, the concept-oriented approach engages students in higher-order thinking by encouraging them to analyze, evaluate, and apply concepts. This method helps students go beyond the basic to understand why and how language works. This kind of engagement builds critical thinking skills, promotes a genuine interest in learning. In summary, both Jean Piaget theory of cognitive development and the concept-oriented approach emphasize the importance of active, meaningful learning. Piaget taught us that understanding a child's development stage helps us tailor our teaching to support their growth, while the concept of oriented approach shows us that connecting language learning to real-world concept fosters deeper understanding and motivation. So together, this approach reminds us that effective education is engaging and developmentally appropriate and rooted in real-life experience. Thank you for joining me in exploring these important educational theories. I hope this presentation helped you gain a clearer understanding of Piaget's insight and the power of concept-oriented approach learning in the classroom. Bye!